All right, let's go ahead and get started. And if other people join, that will be great. I'll start by sharing my screen. Um, could I ask to get a designated note taker for today? Great. I can take notes after the fact. All right.
Thank you for this.
Hmm?
Thank you.
No problem. Next up, we have new faces. I don't see any new faces today. So let's go ahead and jump right into doing some RFC review. First things up, decoupled dependencies. This is on the back burner for me until we get through the standardized metadata format RFC, because I think that will simplify rewriting a chunk of this going forward. So I haven't really addressed anything on this. It might actually be smart of me to put this into just like a draft. For right now, it's not going to get rid of any of the comments or anything like that. So I might do that just so that we have this marked as something that's on the back burner. Next up, we have Graal VM, like proposal to introduce new Graal VM build packs. Can't read today, clearly. Is there any update on this? That would be, I guess, interesting here, but wow,
Uh, yeah,
very recent update.
yeah. There is oh wow, this one. Actually, I haven't read this one. Okay, I'm not even up to date. I just wanted to say that with regard to Cloud Foundry Legal, there are doubts that the licensing that is brought with this new distribution of GraalVM is compatible with Cloud Foundry, Paketo distributing GraalVM. Anyways, those doubts, we need to clear them. And I am actually in contact with Chris Clark from the Cloud Foundry Foundation, as well as with Sébastien Deleuze from the Spring team, who really wants this GraalVM to be usable via Buildpacks. He actually wrote a very nice article recently on the Spring blog, explaining what are the different paths that Spring is envisioning for the future. Anyways, just to say that we haven't set up a meeting yet, but we'll soon have a meeting with Cloud Foundry Legal to try and clear this basically this RFC.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you.
No problem.
Next up, we have RFC to codify the creation of new maintainer groups. I was just looking at this this morning. I got sidetracked and then have been out for a little bit. I think Jan, I see that you've like approved this. I think that I agree with Dan McCuse's lower statement about new maintainer groups covering multiple existing maintainer groups, potentially introducing like voting structure headaches. Um, and so I think that for the time being, I might remove this. And if the need arises, then we will go back and amend this as part of a government document. So I think I will probably go in and remove this subsection and then just ask for another quick approval and just check to make sure that everything looks good.
For what it's worth, I approved it based on the fact that any current existing maintainer team can grant permissions to anyone they want without the steering committee being included. That's why I approved it. But yeah, it's fair. If Daniel thinks like that for that we should have something in there that involves the steering committee, then be it. But
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that the structural component of this is just like a bit too hairy, and I agree that I kind of just don't want to deal with it right now. So I will punt that off, and I think that everything else I generally agree with his idea of like we should, like, as the steering committee, maybe take some time to ensure that like the membership is I guess correct, even if that is like for the most part, like if it's like splitting off a new maintainer group or something like that, us just rubber stamping doesn't take that long, so I think it'll be fun. Any other thoughts or questions on this? Excellent. Next up, we have standardized Paketo dependency metadata format. There's a couple of things that I haven't been able to address on this quite yet. I think I've addressed most of the issues. I think the bike shedding stuff is not entirely consequential. These were just sort of things that were in my brain and needed to go onto a document so that they could be discussed. I don't disagree with basically most of the like the tooling. We should just implement this in our existing tooling and something like that. I haven't, the two things that I haven't done is I haven't put in a provision for what it would look like to do like specify images for extension build packs. That's something that Michael laid out here. And I'm just not up to date, caught up 100% on this discussion. And then there's been a discussion that Jan, you've been having about PURLs and CPEs and that sort of thing, which I think is a valid discussion that I also need to make sure that I'm up to date on. Do you have any like piece that you would like to say here on that term, or?
My general thoughts in that direction is just we need to allow as many package identifiers as are being used by security researchers that report CVEs. And that means whatever package identifier system, we probably need to support multiple mentionings, because who knows, like even if the security researcher does something faulty, right, and should have used a different identifier, it's like if it's out there and if it actually helps detecting a CVE, then we should support it in a sense. In particular for pearls, I'm not sure. I mean, the existing pearls are just not helping. And I'm not entirely sure in how far I should agree with Daniel to just like remove pearls entirely, because there are systems and I can see examples, right? So there is OSVDef as one example, and it would show CVEs for a Tomcat jar, right, in the Maven format. That's not entirely correct for the Apache Tomcat build pack, because it does actually ship a Catalina shell script that is not included in that. But there is a big overlap between, there's a problem in the jar file of Tomcat, and that is part of the distribution. So I would personally remove the existing pearls, allow the usage of pearls, because there are some ecosystem that the ecosystem is picking this up with Google and GitHub on the front. So I would allow this package identifiers, but I would remove the existing ones, and I wouldn't enforce the usage of a particular system actually. Like maybe CPEs are really that widespread that we can make this a mandatory field, but even there, I'm not sure. Like we should provide package identifiers, but making it a mandatory field in the metadata spec, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be. I haven't responded to the latest comments, but I don't think it needs to be a mandatory field. As long as we have the CPEs as mandatory, people can still add them. I mean, we can suggest guidance to have it be a list of pearls rather than a single field, but we can just not enforce that people have to have them. And I would be completely fine with that. Then, you know, each language maintainer group can make their own decision about if they want to support those and what it looks like to have a helpful pearl field or not.
I in theory, I'd even go as far as saying maybe even CPEs shouldn't be mandatory, because who knows if you can really always find one. Even CPEs are pretty strange, I'd say. Like the submachine, as an example, reports, I think, currently as an Oracle JVM, which other JVMs also do. And it's probably not the worst decision in terms of for what do security researchers report CVEs, right? That's the main point. So I'm even not sure with CPEs that they should be mandatory in that sense. So Perl's definitely not, but I think we should just adopt whatever package identifier systems help with like matching CVEs to the things we install.
Let me make sure that I have this fully clarified. As it stands in the RFC right now, they are not required to have a well-formed Paketo Buildpack TOML metadata section, which that's a mouthful, but that's what this is, right? They're not required to do that. They are an optional component that can be added, but we are specifying that if you did want to add CPEs, they should exist in this format to our understanding.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Is that sort of what we're talking about, or is even the inclusion in them as a spec'd out entity not what we want to look for? And we can still say, like, because what I want to avoid is having a dependent, like a metadata dependencies metadata section where like there's like optional CVEs that aren't spec'd, or fields that aren't spec'd out.
No, I think it's fair that way. I actually wasn't even aware that also CPEs are marked optional. I agree with that here. I mean, like for what we should do, we should treat these as kind of non-optional, right? We should figure out which package identifier we actually add, right? We shouldn't go without if there is one that's meaningful. But I think you can't hard code that into a schema, so to say, for the data in terms of what needs to be there.
Okay, so as long as I keep something like the CPEs field optional in this particular thing, it is okay to remain as part of the standardization. Okay.
Same for Pearls from my point of view. There I disagree with Daniel, I guess, but I think it should stay as an optional field, but we should remove the concrete instances that use the generic thing, because it's very unlikely that anyone finds something like that. And I don't know if there's always a good replacement for that. Like, it might be worth some research, but it's already a first step to just remove some of the rather confusing things where you think, oh, there's a Perl, and then you're good with it, but you don't realize that you won't find anything with that.
This is a discussion that we've had before insofar as like, because we are defining, like in some ways we are actually the provider for this particular dependency, and in some cases we're actually like, the compiler of the end dependency as well. Like, even though we're compiling to a specific version format, it's actually difficult to define what PURL you should put in, because it's not like we're not like a sanctioned provider, or like it's way easier when it's like you can scan your Node app and like the npm registry is like like it, or it has its own signifier for like a Perl or something like that.
I guess that's one of the things, maybe, like as long as Perls, for example, are also in plural, like the CPEs, then at least for when Paketo actually really builds the dependencies, it's fair to point out to put a Perl in there that we invent in a sense, right? I still don't think that many people will report this vulnerability specifically against Paketo, so likely there's no researcher choosing this Perl, but you could even then go forward and have two different ones. If the upstream ecosystem has an existing one, you could just have two. One that we invented because we built it, and that might actually even cause vulnerabilities, right? Because we chose some compilation options. And have an additional one if the upstream project actually publishes this kind of package identifier. So I would go for plural, definitely.
Okay, I can abide by that. I think that's something as well for CPE that we did that I think makes sense, is based on kind of the weirdness that how CPEs work. I know that there's potentially this is something that we can revisit if we ever want to add other ideas. I know that like NIST is NIST is theoretically moving away from CPEs at some nebulous point in the future to another ID. That when I reached out to somebody and asked how realistic is that going to happen at any time, they were like, it's not at all. But
it's a lot like IPv6, right?
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. All right, this is good feedback. I will dive back into this and continue to take a quick little look. Next up we have a
one more thing to the metadata format, because I'm not sure if I understood you correctly initially when you were looking at the tooling aspect. Because I indeed, like, what I did suggest is we should use that opportunity to actually start aligning the two different build pack supporting Go package, stuff like that. I would opt for having, like, maybe not the tooling that does downloading and compilation and whatnot, but at least the piece that does the reading of the parsing of the metadata, at least that we could then start to look further, right? Maybe the download of dependencies is something you could easily share, and like step by step. But I would really start with a Go package that is responsible to read this from the Buildpack terminal, in a sense. And that should be used by Packet and Litpack.
Yeah, I'm in favor of doing that. I think that setting that out as a requirement is a little tricky, but I'm not opposed to it. I think that that's something that
it's not a requirement, actually. Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
I mean, having a spec and then every build pack has to adhere to it. I'm pretty sure in Paketo you would be allowed to use neither libcnb nor Packet nor Litpack, but just start from scratch. I guess people would look at you a little suspicious, but I think there is no general rule that this isn't allowed in the Paketo org, right? So probably it's not a rule that you have to use a certain dependency, but
and even as you say, we could just make that a dependency of our existing libraries, and then theoretically over time contributing to one, the code bases in both become nil except for Go imports. I think that is what I'm aiming for. So this is update accepted versus implemented. I just need to reread this. It looks fine. This is just like cleaning up stuff in the reading.
I just went through them and found a lot of RFCs that were actually implemented already.
Yeah. I just need to go through and just double check this just to make sure that we're all good. And then the final one is addendum to dependency mapping RFC.
Yep, this is just an edit to the old dependency mapping RFC. We recently had an issue come in on Packet in which a user using Buildpacks on Kubernetes couldn't use our dependency mappings because I guess Kubernetes doesn't allow like variable names to have colons in them. So the way we've laid it out currently is if you don't want to use a SHA-256, you have to specify it with algorithm : hash or the checksum. So that throws an error for anybody. I can't believe no one's ever run into this before. So I have gone ahead and added a modification to this RFC to also allow people to pass in their dependency mapping digest with a dash instead of a colon. That's all this edit is. I saw Dan's comment on here saying maybe we should just make this configurable so that, if they turn around and say no dashes are allowed one day, then we don't have to modify this again. I don't hate that idea, but I also think that dependency mappings / service bindings in general, Buildpacks already have so much configuration that's really confusing for people. I would love to just have this just work the way it is, just have somebody pass it with a dash, no extra configuration necessary, and leave it at that. So I'm leaning towards just having it be a colon or a dash, and that's it. I can't imagine Kubernetes is gonna change allowing a dash in their variable names after all this time. But watch me be proven wrong.
Sorry, Sophie, I just wanted to ask you, just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure you've already checked that. Algorithm, there are no algorithm with a dash in it, right? I mean, there can't be any algorithm with a dash in it because of this separation. So yeah, I was just asking.
No, it's more just like the way they would represent it. So it would be SHA-256 dash the checksum.
Yeah.
Digest.
I think the question that he has is whether we check that the delimiters we currently propose, like the colon and the dash, are never used in the name of an
that's
algorithm.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a good. I see. Yeah.
Like imagine Anthony dash algorithm dash VH. Boom, that doesn't work.
That's actually a fantastic question. I actually didn't look into that, so I will double check that. Good call.
Yeah, regarding configurability, I always lean towards maybe that's a bit too much. I could even provide a link to a comment from Daniel on another issue where he argues that we shouldn't introduce another variable for a configuration because there are so many already.
Yeah.
And it's even one we want to use just internally between build packs, not exposed. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's just a difference in opinion. So yeah, good call, Anthony. I'll look into that and I'll leave a comment on the RFC.
Sorry about that, y'all. All right, is there any other comments that people would like to make on this? Great. That brings us to the end of the list of RFCs. Is there any other comments that people would like to make? Excellent. All right. Next up, are there any CMB updates or questions? Nope. All right. Any project updates that people would like to give? And finally, are there any open mic questions or discussion topics that people have?
Maybe just since we are so many in here today, just a reminder that we are participating in, we as in Paketo Buildpacks, we are participating in Oktoberfest. We are still 14 days to go, so you can talk about it around you. If you have some people around you who would be willing to contribute anything, it's tagged with the Oktoberfest tag across all the repos, Java, non-Java, and yeah, they would be super welcome to do so.
Awesome. Anything else? Really speed run the last couple of segments. All right, everyone have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.